Hey.
Hi.
It's Tash and Carly.
And you're listening to Motherhood.
Not as we planned.
So get comfy, grab a cup of tea.
Or a glass of wine, and let's start talking about all the things too many of us avoid discussing. Welcome to episode 2 of Motherhood, Not As We Planned. So today our episode is called Having Your Psycho Moment.
Psycho.
I mean, not saying we're psycho,
But we've all got it in us.
yeah, absolutely. I feel like we all have it in us. And when you go through that moment of like breakup, or you find out that your ex is just a dick, I feel like it's right. Like you're meant to.
There is anger, and there's nothing wrong with channeling that anger and doing whatever makes you feel better. Now, can I just make a disclaimer? We're not encouraging you to
Disclaimer.
any criminal activity or anything that's going to get you in trouble. Obviously, everything we say is taken here with a pinch of salt. And yeah, make your own decisions.
Yeah. And we've had so many of you send us some of your stories. They're all going to be anonymous because...
And also, can I just say, you make me feel very, very tame. So thank you for that.
I feel like I let myself down.
No,
yeah.
Told me
is it okay to go back and do it, even though you're okay? Yeah. I feel like we're a bit too far down the line. But we are also just going to generally talk about kind of like the grieving stage, the healing, what we did to make ourselves feel better. Because
kind of like the next step from it's over, essentially.
Yeah, definitely. So for me, I think the next stage, once I very much realised like filing for divorce, this, that and the other, he wouldn't leave. That's a really difficult part when you obviously both own your house and one won't leave. So we very much kind of like cohabited. I think it was about 2 months. I know. And do you know what? I think that I got so used to pretending, even before we announced that we were like to each other, that like we were done, that it actually wasn't as bad as I thought it was. Because I was like, do you know what? Cool. I've got my own fucking free babysitter. You can fucking stay here and I'm going to go out. So I think what we actually did, do you know what? It's really mad how you can forget.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Now that I'm so okay, sometimes I sit here and I think, like, was I that sad? But I know I was. I've just...
You can't imagine it. You can't remember.
I've forgotten.
Yeah.
But from memory, I think what we kind of did was it was kind of like a written rule that, like, if I was staying in, he'd go out. And if he was going out, obviously, I'd stay in because sadly the kids aren't old enough to look after themselves just yet. And that's kind of just what we generally did. Do you know what? It was actually like a calmer presence because all of a sudden there was no need to fight. Like we were done.
Yeah.
I'm sure there were moments where we weren't getting on, but we never really argued that much in front of the kids. That was like my thing. Like if you're staying here, that's fine as long as it's not toxic for the children.
Yeah.
I know this might be a bit weird, but we actually still shared a bed. Yeah. I think we were... I know. Do you know what? Looking back, I don't really get how I did it. But again, for so long, we slept in the same bed, and it was like there was that like invisible
line divide.
Yeah, that like it just was the same. Do you know what? Like it's weird, but I guess it worked for us. I didn't like the idea of him sleeping on the sofa and one of the kids coming into our bedroom in the night and being like, where's daddy? Until we were of a stage where we knew exactly what was going on with our living arrangement and we were in a position where we could tell our kids what was going on, I wanted it to stay as normal as possible for them. Not going to lie, it got to a point where I was quite scared for him to leave because it was still... So I was still kind of living, in my eyes, the best of both worlds. It was like I didn't have to accept being alone. I still had like a presence of him being around, albeit I'm not sure why I really wanted him around. But I think it was just that I still had that comfort. I wasn't yet the single parent. It was like I've got someone to help me with bath, and now I can go out and do my own thing. Yeah. And so it then kind of got a bit messy when I started snooping and found a few things on a tablet, and I lost my fucking shit. And I think he realised with what I found, he didn't really have a leg to stand on to stay anymore, so he left. And then that was kind of like this proper start of like
so
the end.
Arrangements after that.
So he went and stayed at his parents, and the thing is, they don't have much space, so he couldn't have the kids at his parents. So what we did, once we came up with sort of like a plan as to when he was going to have the kids, he came back home, slept on the sofa. I think once he left, it's like, you're not in my bed now. Like, now this is my bed. So he's come back home, stay on the sofa, and then I went and stayed at my parents. So until he actually went and rented his own place, which took quite a long time, I chucked him out in the August and he didn't have his own place till the November. So it wasn't until like months and months down the line of separating in the June where I suddenly had that like really daunting feeling of, I'm in my house and my kids are no longer here. Like, that was a massive shock, culture shock.
I've still not experienced that yet.
Yeah, which is like, it just shows how...
Yeah. I mean, today, like one of the first days I've been in my house.
And they're not here.
And they're not here.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Yeah.
So the structure that we have in place now is very different to what it was like when he was still at his parents, because midweek he has them overnight. But when he was at his parents, he just came and babysat. So I just had that one night in the week where I could go and do my thing. I actually think most of the time I went and saw my therapist, but I guess that's still my thing. But now we're kind of like in a good structure. I think it just eased me into it. I feel like it worked as best as it could. But I think then it got to a point where I was like, do you know what? Now I just want my time in my house. It became annoying that like when there was a weekend that he had our kids in my house.
This is where I'm at.
Yeah. I felt like it would be really nice to have a kid-free moment in my own home.
Yeah.
Yes. Sort my washing. Maybe I'll go through my clothes. Maybe I'll...
Yeah.
And I couldn't do that. And then what would happen, which the argument started, was I'd be coming home to my house and no washing had been done. And the dishwasher hadn't been emptied. And it's a bit like, well, he didn't do much of that when we were together. So can I really expect it to be done when we're not? And that
is where, so I'm...
You're like that
phase, yeah.
And it just became a bit like, I don't have the energy to argue anymore with you about the fucking washing. But at the same time, like, why am I still doing the fucking washing? Yeah. So... Yeah, that was kind of like that first part of the next stage for me.
So yeah, after obviously it was over, he left and I was on my own with the kids at home. I remember we just tried to like get on with like just normal day-to-day life, like back to nursery and, you know, just... I tried to get out and do normal stuff. So I think even from the start, I can't even remember now. I'm pretty sure he saw them like every week at the weekend. And it's the setup was still trying to figure out what that's going to look like in the long term. But yeah, so it was just really hard going from obviously what I knew to then, you know, being on my own, leading separate lives, but also having lots of big emotions about someone, but then trying to liaise in a way to make sure he was still seeing the kids. And I found that really hard at the start. Like, obviously, it's really important that he still saw the kids, but I found that whole bit when the emotions are so intense for you to have the headspace and brain capacity to be like, but we still need to factor this in, and like how those changeovers looked in the early days. Like I said, like, we are still trying to figure out what our setup is going to be going forwards. You know, he went back to live with his parents who live 2 hours away. So it's not as simple as
being down the road.
Yeah. And it's not, you know, we can't put what we want in place right now because it doesn't work. Mm-hmm. Who knows what that's going to look like in the long term? I don't know at the moment. But that's how it was to start. And like, I just want to say, like, as well, for me, it's really important my kids maintain a really good relationship with their dad. I would never stop my kids from seeing their dad, despite, you know, how I feel about anything that's gone down. But at the same time, it's really important that it does work for you as well, because I don't know, I found the whole concept of it really hard to start. I've spoken briefly about this on my Instagram, but for me, I am someone who has never really had much time away from my kids. That's just me, sometimes my own worst enemy. I did start to go out the last year, but I never really left my kids that often. And for me, almost having that forced on me and it not being my decision, I found really hard to be like, oh, I'm suddenly missing out on time with my kids through a decision that's not my own.
Well, yeah, you then carry that resentment.
And then and then you've got this extra resentment on top of everything else that's going on. Again, it comes with the acceptance of your new life and your new situation and reframing how you're looking at that time away and actually trying now to use it as a time to do stuff I haven't been able to do and go shopping on my own and I've been going on nights out with my friends and I've taken myself on days out. Like, it's lovely. I'm having treatments done and, whatever it is. And it is really hard to feel like you're being punished and this and that. But again, it's all about your mindset and how you reframe it. So yeah, at the moment, this is what we're doing. I think it will change in the very short-term future. But again, we're just trying to figure it out and make it as stable for the kids.
Well, yeah, also, I guess there's no right or wrong, is there? Like,
No.
I wanted to stay, I'm sure you're the same. I wanted to stay in my house if I could because it's my kids' home.
But it's also healthy for them to be in the home too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that really, regardless of the hate or the anger or the resentment or anything, if both of your focus is the kids, which hopefully it is, then that's what needs to be thought about. But I think a lot of people probably struggle with that because I don't think a lot of, and I don't want to sit here saying it's the men are the issue and the women aren't. I get it can be the other way round, but I do think that the women have it probably a lot harder. They probably tend to be the main caregiver, and there are some men out there, sadly, that maybe aren't as concerned about the well-being of their children and see it more as like an attack on them, like, oh, you think you're getting the house, well, what about me? It's like, no, it's not even about me having the house, it's about the kids having the house.
The hard thing is where often in these situations there's so many other emotions caught up, it's hard to separate out, this is for the kids, put your emotions to the side. And I'm the same, like, I have been caught up in emotions where you're so angry, and then you've kind of got to strip it back and be like, no, we need to prioritize the kids. It's not about you. It's not about me.
Yeah.
It's not about either of us. It's about doing what's right for your kids.
Yeah, I've definitely had moments where I'm like, no, fuck you. I'm going to do this and this. And then I'm like, hold on.
You want to spite them, then you're like, what am I doing?
Yeah, it's not really going to help.
It's actually all about the kids. Everyone's situation is different. And we're still trying to figure out what is the best setup for our kids. So I feel like we're trying to work on it. And obviously, I don't want to sit here and say like we're the best co-parents at the moment. We're absolutely not. But I know we both want to be and get better. And I know that that's something that will come with time.
Yeah.
And,
you've got to remember, like, it's still so early days for you. Like, it's been a few months.
So new.
Like, I remember when we first started doing the whole like exchanging of the kids once he had moved out, and that was when I was at like my lowest, and I genuinely couldn't do eye contact with him. And people always tell you when you break up with someone, like, you've got to do the no contact, like that's how you get over someone. And obviously when you've got kids, that's just not an option. And I just remember that was my main struggle. It was the maybe going 2 days without speaking, feeling that bit better, and then all of a sudden he's at my front door again, and I'm like...
I also feel like we can be doing really well, and then we'll come to like, I'll come home with the kids, and then we just can't help ourselves but like go at each other for something. It could be anything. It could be like, not cleaning up or whatever, and it will just escalate, and that's what I really like actively want to work on.
Yeah, I mean, I went through a stage where I tried to avoid being present for the handover, but then I went through stages where I was like, do you know what, I'm going to show him that like I'm really okay. So now I'm going to be over friendly, and then I'd do like 2 weeks of being over friendly and being like really cool and chilled and like, yeah, hey, how are you, yeah, here are the kids, have fun, bye, hey, quickly do my hair. And then the next week I'd be like, oh, he doesn't deserve my kindness. Now I'm going to be a bitch. And like, you just went through these emotions of like, and then I just realised like, do you know what? Like, it's not about playing it to make him think this way or that way. I think I just realised I needed to take a step back, and I tried to make sure that like either like my mum could be around for an exchange or someone could maybe help me out, until I just felt, do you know what? It's just time. Like, I don't remember when it was exactly. I just remember there came a point where I was just like, let's just keep it to the minimum. Here are the kids. We only discussed the kids. How were they? Yeah, they were good. And then I think there were times where, and you'll probably understand this because I'm quite like controlling when it comes to their routine or how the kids are and et cetera, et cetera. When we then would do the exchange with the kids, I'd sit there and I'll be like, so how did they sleep? What did they have for breakfast? And then afterwards I think, but that's all in the past. It doesn't actually matter how they slept. It's not going to make a difference. Do I really need to converse with him about these things? So really, until I truly felt ready to have unnecessary conversations with him, it was a very much, here's a bag, thanks, bye. Because if something was wrong, I'd know.
Yeah. We're still like navigating where we want to be with that. I think I'm very much, let's keep it minimal. I like to check in a lot because, again, I'm not used to leaving my kids. And I also know my kids often play up when I'm not there, particularly at bedtime. They'll go down like a dream for me, not the same for their dad. I just like to have those regular updates.
You've got to do what works for you. Like now, I speak to him all the time when he's got the kids. Did they go down okay? Whether he'll be like, oh no, they're a nightmare. I'll be like, oh, typical. Like we literally, if you saw our WhatsApps now, 90% of the time, it's literally like two friends chatting about our kids. Yeah. And, you know,
we actually today had probably our first like relatively nice conversation and
I think it just gives you that glimpse of hope that like it will get better.
About the kids, like I was saying how the kids have been a nightmare this morning. I was like, oh, I hate those mornings. Like a casual chat. And I think that's the point we both want to get. Of course it's the point we both want to get.
No one wants the drama.
No one wants the drama, but then
I think it also depends on who you're co-parenting with. I'm not going to lie. Like, I have some people, friends of mine, where I think that they are generally
love the dramas.
No, they're co-parenting with a narcissist. I think a lot of people like to throw that word around. I think everyone has narcissistic traits. Like if you're with someone that's gaslighting you, it doesn't mean they're a narcissist. I think there's something like 35 different traits to a narcissist. I think people don't understand how in depth you have to be a narcissist. But what I mean is, if you're with someone that wants an easy life like you, eventually you will get there. But I guess you've got to be realistic with the timescale. Like, yours is so raw.
It is, right.
And also, like, my divorce isn't even final. We still have moments where we're arguing about something, but now we're at that point where that argument doesn't drag into
everything else
escalating. It's very much like we've had an argument for 5 minutes, and the next time I speak to him, I'll be like, oh, you're all right, and it's fine, and we FaceTime with the kids. And so I think that everyone has that dream family unit, and then now I've got this like in my head, this like dream co-parenting scenario where we do Christmases together, and you know, it's all happy families, and he brings his new wife and I'll bring my new husband. Like, I don't aspire for that to happen. All I want is for us to get on enough that our kids see that we can still be friends. Again, it's obviously going to depend on how your marriage is. If someone's abusive, again, completely different story. But I think the mentality that I've got now is I can sit here still and hold grudges and still want to try and find out things that maybe I don't know and get my closure and be angry that he did this and that. But the longer I held on to those feelings,
you can't be truly happy as well.
The slower it to heal. And I think what we also wanted to talk about was like our healing process and things like that. And for me, it's that moment where you're happy to let go of the anger and realise, do you know what? I can sit here and make snidey comments to him when I see him or give digs, but he's going to be in my life for the rest of my life.
I still have moments
and,
where
you know, if you didn't, I think that's weird.
Yeah.
Like, it's a few months down the line.
I still carry a lot of anger with me. by the way, I'm booking into a rage room. Have you ever done that?
No. What is this?
So basically, there's one near me. They basically, you can choose different levels of rage. So I was saying I'm blind rage, like whatever the top.
Obviously.
I think it's like 50, 60 quid. They set up this room. They put like electronics, computer screens. They give you a baseball bat, helmet. Go in and you just smash.
Are you joking? 100%. I fucking love it. We'll film it for the podcast.
Film it. Anyway.
Sorry, that's unreal.
We'd actually do that.
Love that.
So yeah, so that's something I need to do. And my ex has brought up, it's like, sometimes you just feel like so angry. And I'm like, you're right, I am angry. Like I am. And I think where I haven't necessarily unleashed it or channeled it yet, I feel like I've very much let go of like the sadness and that part. And it is like the cycle of grief we're talking about. Like you do go through so many, it's not linear, and I think that's really important to know. Is like healing is not linear. Like you can have
day, bad day.
You can have like a great week, be like, I'm flying, like I feel amazing, and then it could be something minute that happens, and it will send you like you feel like you've taken 100 steps back, and I've 100% been there. And then you end up getting yourself in a point where you think, how am I ever gonna get out of this?
And it's back to that day at a time. And when you're feeling good, just embrace it.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you are gonna end up. Yeah. 100%.
Sometimes you can't always see that coming. And I think I think for me the biggest thing with my healing was knowing it's not linear, and that's fine. And I know, like, still now sitting here, I can say I'm in a much better place, but I know I've still got loads of work to do, and it's something like that I am continuing to put conscious effort into doing. Like for me, and people deal with things in different ways, and people heal in different ways, and people find, I don't know, different ways of coping and things like that. For me, I've found keeping busy really helpful. I like to be busy a lot. I found people who follow me ages ago, I used to write a lot of poems and stuff.
I read one the other day.
Yeah. It's still how I don't know, I started doing it more in the early stages of motherhood, and it was just my way of being able to articulate how I felt without like being like, oh, I'm really struggling. I don't know. And yeah, ever since this happened, I've started writing again, which is quite like uplifting and powerful. Yeah. And I've been journaling most nights and just getting out how I feel, and it really helps. I don't know, almost like be accepting of how I'm feeling and being like, and then that's it, and recognizing and just accepting like, this is how I feel, this is fine, this is how I feel today, and writing it down. It's actually nice now. I'm feeling like a lot better when I read back, and I'm like, I don't remember feeling like that. It's almost nice to have got it.
I videoed myself, talked to the camera on one of my lowest days. It was August last year, and I still got it on my phone, and I'm talking to the camera. I look fucking horrendous, I look terrible, and I'm literally talking to the camera, and I'm like, I really hope that one day I can look back at this video, and although I feel like this is like the end of my life, I'll watch this knowing that actually it's the beginning of a new chapter. And I look back at it now, and it does make me like feel emotional, because I think, you know, journaling and doing things like that, like that's really helped me as well. People always say like, how did you cope? What were your coping mechanisms? For me, writing shit down makes such a difference. And also things like, you know, when people say like, how did you move on, or how did you get over him? Like and it may not work for everyone, but I wrote down like everything bad about him.
Yeah.
And everything good about myself. And things that I miss, like I've seen parts of me come back to life that I kind of like forgot, and got suppressed by, you know, maybe being with someone that didn't know my worth. And I feel like I didn't know my worth, and I feel like you lose yourself in motherhood as well. Yeah. And I think that's also another thing, that when you suddenly had this like kid-free time, however sad it may be, and it's not the way that you wanted it, it's suddenly like finding things that you like to do for you.
Honestly, I was saying to, I can't remember who I was saying to the other day, someone was like, oh, like, what do you do for fun? Like, what are your hobbies? I was like, yeah, I don't know. I don't have any. I'm
shopping.
Yeah, like, but like, I don't know what I enjoy. And then I was like, right, well, it's time to like rediscover, find out things. Who does this era of Carly like? Like we were on the tube for a night out, and then me and my friends were discussing like what we were going to drink, and I was like, maybe I'll have a margarita. Maybe this era of Carly's drink of choice is a margarita. Who knows? Like,
I didn't drink.
It's exciting.
I didn't drink pretty much the whole of my marriage. I didn't drink alcohol.
Yeah,
just because I don't really like the taste of it. I never really felt the need to get drunk, and it just wasn't my thing. And then once I kind of got back into that zone of thinking, when I say back, I never went on a date before. Like I'd never been on a date before. But when I started contemplating dating, I thought, I can't go out for a drink and be like, I'll get a water. Like and I'm not also suggesting. I'm also not suggesting to people that like you can't go on a date without alcohol. But I just felt like I don't like fizzy drinks.
Yeah.
So if I can't order a Diet Coke, I can't order a Sprite. Oh, can I have a water? Like here,
red flag.
Yeah, he'll be like, oh no, AA. So I just felt like, do you know what? Like I'm going to try and find a drink that I like, and I started liking a bit of a sex on the beach, sex on the beach, or a porn star martini.
Love a porn star.
And I just thought, I just suddenly felt a bit like, I felt a bit like a child again, but in a fun way. Yeah. Like I'm not just Tash the mum. Don't use
that as a phrase.
I'm Tash as well as just mummy.
Yeah.
And it's suddenly nice that when you find yourself again.
I think that's where I'm at the moment. Like I'm just doing more stuff for myself, and like what would I like to do today?
Yeah.
Where would I like to go? And it's really empowering. I was out in the city at the weekend, and I messaged my friend and I was like, the sun's out, do you fancy getting training and we'll carry on drinking all night? We'll go out. It was the most spontaneous thing I've done, honestly, in years.
Yeah,
I'm like,
I love that.
This is brilliant. I mean, we had such a good, fun night, and I felt
like the girly night, like so nice. I think that's another key thing when you're like trying to like process and move on and heal. Is like, don't get me wrong, you need to eventually get used to being on your own and enjoying your own company, but don't force that on yourself. Like I made sure that I was busy. I like had a little WhatsApp group with my close girls, and it was really nice. And we always made sure that there was times where if anyone was kid free, they'd be like, let's do brunch with Tash, or let's do a dinner, or we'd go out and just try and keep yourself occupied.
Yeah.
Rather than forcing yourself into, I need to learn to be okay on my own.
Don't be scared to there was a point where I was making like loads of plans, but then it would sometimes get to the day and I wouldn't feel like it. And don't be scared to be like, I'm actually not feeling it, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But I agree. Like on you really notice who steps up for you. Like some people will shock you. Like as to
honestly, some people came out the woodworks, and were amazing, and then sadly, I feel like some people, and it's life.
It's with anything. I have to say, I've never felt so supported in my life, like by my friends and family around me, like my friends as well, like all juggling their own things in life, in adult life. I've got a very expansive friendship group of people, I've had all different things going on, and I've never once felt like I've not had someone I can go to. So I
think that's really, really,
when I'm like, sometimes like I'll write in the group like, right girls, I need to go out and get drunk. Who's coming? And people like drop plans.
I mean, hi, let's go out.
But I'm there now. So yeah, no, it is the people around you change everything, and things like it was just insane. Like as well, like if you're listening to this and you've got a friend who's going through something like this is something I get asked a lot. What can I do to support my friend who's going through something like this? Honestly, when I say I had things turning up at my house like every day, I had flowers, I had like biscuits, which were like a hug. I had like people sent me sweets. People sent me like products for my body. Like I just always felt like someone was thinking of me.
Yeah.
And like people were they just made me feel really important and really loved. And like there were people I haven't spoken to since like uni, like one of my boy mates from uni, like literally.
Oh,
no, okay. Married. He's okay. But like literally, like him and his wife sent me the nicest little thing. And I just thought, like, some people just so nice.
Yeah. And another thing I would say on top of that is people that are friends that want to try and support their friend going through this, if you've got kids, include them in family days. Like, I am so up for joining another family with their kids, with their husband. I don't mind not having a partner with me. It is such a nice feeling to be included in a family day with another.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that I think I initially struggled with, is I found the weekend with the kids actually harder than without. Because without, I started getting used to, actually, I don't mind if I go shopping on my own. I liked maybe finding something to do in the evening, having a girly night, staying, get a takeaway, or go out or go out for dinner. But for me, it's more, if you have a friend that's going through a separation and they've got children and you're going on a Saturday out with your husband and your kids, invite them with. Go to the zoo together, go to the farm. Like, that for me has a massive, massive impact. And it makes my weekend so much more pleasant and bearable with my children. I'm not saying it's not bearable if I'm on my own with my kids, but having some adult company with your children, for me, is great.
As well, just like things like checking in. Like, I had people who literally checked in like every single day, just a message like, how you feeling today, or thinking of you. And it is just like the really little things that really like pulled you through. Like, I've never, like I said, I always felt like I had someone, if I was having a bad day, they'd be like, all right, I'll be round, like, fine. And I think that is, going out with family, that's a really good idea.
Really nice. I did it a few weekends ago with my best friend and her husband, and we went to the zoo and took all the kids, and it was so nice. It felt normal.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, as well, I do a lot on my own with the kids. I think I always have, and stuff like that doesn't scare me anymore. It's more, as well, I haven't had like a full weekend with my kids on my own.
I guess that's when it will maybe so slightly different.
Yeah. So,
and also, as another thing in regards to when we were talking about kind of like healing and coping mechanisms, we both coincidentally saw a psychic. Because obviously when I did, you were still married and whatever. And then I remember you turned around and told me, I've seen this psychic and it's made me feel so much better. I was like, oh my God, I did that. And do you know what? A lot of people don't believe in it. A lot of people think it's a load of shit.
I do, but honestly,
do you know what? If it just gives you that slight bit of hope.
The hope.
And so the woman I saw, she was a white witch. And not only did she like do a psychic reading on me, but she also cut the cord. So I don't know if you've heard of this. Like, when you cut the cord, and again, I'm not like a professional, so if I'm saying this slightly incorrectly, I apologise for anyone that is maybe a witch listening to this and they're like, what's she talking about? But she did some sort of thing on me, which kind of like, I mean, it's very much cutting the cord. It literally kind of stops you feeling like an emotional tie to this person. There was a lot of other things she did. I did like Reiki, so many other kind of like spiritual healing massages. And I did it over a period of time. And I just literally, that day where she cut the cord, I kid you not, the day after was that moment where the exchange with the kids, I was just a bit like, cool, you're right.
Amazing. I need this.
Like, it was, I don't know, it was...
Cut my cord. Cut my cord.
I just, so like, again, a lot of people don't believe in it. They might think it's a waste of money, but it did something to me.
And I think that's it. Like,
it might just be psychological.
Like, I had people who's like, why have you wasted money on a psychic? Do you know what? For me, I was like, if it can offer me some kind of hope, and mine was over the phone. This woman, I didn't even give her my real name. She knew nothing about me. Nothing about me.
It's amazing when they say something, you're like, how did you know
I was sat there, I had tears streaming down my face, and I was like, there were just certain things she brought up, and I was like, how would she know that?
Yeah.
And now I'm however many more months down the line, and stuff that she said.
And did she say something? Did she say something like this? I know. So weird. So weird.
And now I'm like,
got goosebumps.
This is weird. And and she told me I was going to be okay. It was for me that hope that I was going to be okay. And now I'm I'm here in a place where I feel okay. I don't know if that's something that would make you feel better. Definitely like consider it, because
one thing I would say is what you don't want to do, which I feel like it's very easy to do, is then try and live your life by it. Or it's like, I need a bit more of a fix. Let me see her again. Like, don't keep going back, or don't go to like multiple people.
For me, it was just like, okay, like,
it's hope. It is. It's just something to keep you going.
Yeah.
And even if it's not what ends up happening.
Little things, and I'm not saying things will happen exactly as she says, but there are things that follow what she says that have happened.
I mean, some of the stuff that my woman told me was just like, now, like looking back and some of the stuff has happened, I'm like, shit, she was really fucking right. Well, no, like there was one thing where she said to me, like, there'd be a guy and he won't be like your forever guy. He will heal your sex chakras, because like, to be honest, I'm not even really fucking sure what chakras are, but whatever she said was
chakras.
Whatever she said, like, was fucking healed, like.
So, read between the lines there. Tasha's sex chakras have healed. But yeah, so if you if you're down in the dumps, just go and get a psychic. So going back to obviously the topic of this podcast being about having our psycho moment, we got loads of you messaging us. We wanted to know the things that you have done when you've broken up with an ex or a husband that have made you a little bit psycho.
And some of them are hilarious. We stopped reading them because we thought our reactions as we were reading them were so funny. So now these are going to be mostly blind reaction. So someone's put here, I got cheated on by my ex when I was pregnant. I worked with her, so I told the work Facebook group.
Oh,
that's fucking awkward. Okay. I added my ex onto a load of gay dating websites.
I might do that one tonight. No, I'm joking.
Oh my God. Slept with his dad. I mean, I wouldn't dare. Not me.
But if he's filthy.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Filthy.
Oh my God.
The dad.
What a apple obviously doesn't fall far from the
tree.
Oh my God. Okay. This is like, I found messages to a married woman from my ex, so I screenshotted them and posted them on his Facebook and tagged her.
Oh God.
I know, but so fucking good. Oh my God. Slept with my ex's best mate, revenge at its finest. Oh my God. I mean, do you know what? I mean, all of his best mates are married, so I wouldn't do that. But
makes me a bit ill.
He cheated on me, so I took everything in the flat, including all the light bulbs, so he couldn't turn the lights on.
His iPhone.
It's hilarious. Go on. So I think I got up to that.
Okay. Smashed his van window with a sledgehammer. I don't like cheese.
I don't like what?
Cheese.
I thought you said cheese. Who's got a sledgehammer?
A sledgehammer? You okay?
Do you know what? I'm too scared for vandalism.
No, I can't do anything. I might go to prison.
Yeah, can you go to prison for that?
Maybe, if they reported you.
Oh.
Well, this one's brilliant. Covered his car in tomato ketchup. I want to know if this was the outside and the inside, or was it just the inside?
I hope it was the inside, and I hope it was fabric, not leather.
Put glitter in all of his socks and pockets of his clothes.
That must be so fucking annoying to get rid of. Like, I don't even let my kids play away. I don't even let my kids play with glitter. It's so fucking annoying. That's brilliant. Someone put here the usual cut buttons off his shirt, cut holes in the armpits, accidentally dropped his Xbox.
I love that.
Here, this is quite funny. I cut up his passport and the clothes that he'd left at mine, and I also set up a WhatsApp group with all his family to tell him what he'd done. That's quite ballsy. I like that.
Not me, but my best friend bought a load of bought a load of love crickets from Pets at Home and emptied in his house. What crickets?
What a love cricket.
I don't know. I'm imagining a little insect.
Oh my God, it's making me itchy.
Ooh.
People ask me if I have any regrets. I think my regrets are that I didn't do enough fucking crazy shit. Don't get me wrong, I had my crazy moments. Again, he now knows because I'm not very good at hiding shit. I did speak to a private investigator, but then when I heard how much it was, I was like, no, this is where I draw the line. Deep down, I know that something's not right. I don't know what he was up to, but it was no longer really my problem. No. And once I kind of got to that point, I was able to let go. So yeah, I think it's safe to say that we've all had our psycho moment.
We have all got inner psychos, and sometimes situations just bring them out.
It's just necessary. As long as you're not killing,
don't
breaking the law.
Breaking of the law.
And do you know what? I think the last point that we wanted to kind of talk about in this episode was, I think once we were both at a stage where we were ready to, with it being our jobs, we then had to find a time to put it out on Instagram. I found it quite difficult because I feel like my page was quite family orientated, and for quite a few months I was getting a lot of messages asking where he was, because he was no longer, he wasn't on my Instagram. We weren't good for quite a few months before we decided to separate. And look, I understand that when you're sharing your life,
people feel like they're entitled to know.
And I understand that. And I know some people might be like, oh, that's so nosy. But I guess it comes with the job.
Out there, yeah.
So it got to a point where once we had shared it with our children, not that they know what's going on social media, but all you need is one person to say it and then tell a mum. And then, so once the kids knew and once I felt comfortable with it, I shared it on Instagram. But the reaction, and I'm sure that you can appreciate this too, the messages and the love and the support, and then realizing that you're not on your own, really probably the main reason why we're doing this. Like, I don't feel like it's spoken enough. I don't feel like there's enough out there that I'm aware of anyway where I can really relate. Like, this in itself is therapeutic. When I share it on Instagram, I find it therapeutic. Just generally.
Oh, it's something that I know for me, when you're going through it, you feel like you are the only person in the world going through it.
And like, why me?
Yeah, why you? Everything's happening to you. And that's, you very much trapped in it. I remember when I decided to share it, I hadn't planned to share it as early as something had happened. I won't disclose it. But I was like, I'm fed up of hiding my new situation. And I don't know, I felt like I couldn't be me. I felt like everything I was doing was a facade, and I was just reposting old content, and I was like, how long can I keep doing this for? Or I can, like, I don't know, I felt like if I was just honest, then I could just
be you,
be me. And, you know, it is my job, and it was really hard. And I completely agree with you. I didn't get any hate at all.
No, neither. I mean,
I don't know why that really, like, scared. I don't know why I thought I would, but
do you know what it was for me?
What?
I, for a really long time, felt like I really failed, because I feel like marriage and having that kind of like happily ever after is kind of like,
it's what everyone strives for.
Yeah. And I felt like if I'm unable to succeed in something that's meant to be like, that I just really felt like I failed. And I've never ever looked at single parents as like anyone beneath anyone else, but I felt like that in myself. I can't explain it. It's really weird. Like I just felt like, I can't believe I'm now a single parent, like failed marriage. I felt like a bit stuffed with myself. I don't know how to explain.
You don't imagine that's ever going to be your situation. You don't. You think it's happening to other people.
I felt like slightly beneath successfully married people. Yeah. Not going to lie. Like, I really did. Even though I felt like it wasn't really a fault of my own, at the end of the day, there's two people in a marriage. And I just felt really low about it. But since sharing it, it's just really opened my eyes to like how okay and normal it is.
And also, I've had so many messages from people saying this, and this has really helped me, so I want to share it. But when I talk about like mourning a family unit, people are like, but you are a family. You are a family. The world is so different now.
Yeah.
You know, actually, it's probably not that normal to have a mum, a dad, and 2.4 children, whatever it is. Like, families are different makeups and different setups now, and that's okay. And, you know, you being a single mum with your 2 boys and, you know, have the dad here, that is still a family unit. They are still going to feel all the love from you. They can still have, like, for me, I'm very much focused on, okay, well, just because I'm on my own now, that doesn't mean I'm not going to give them the life I thought I'd have. I always thought I'd take them away loads. It's why I've booked my first solo trip with them. I'm not having my circumstances and my relationship status affect how I thought my kids' life would be. And it's that pressure. I remember feeling like, I'm a single mum. Like, are people going to look at me differently now I'm on my own? And, you know, I'm ashamed and embarrassed.
I wasn't worried about how people look at me. I just hated how I looked at myself.
Really?
And that probably stems from the self-worth I had in my relationship. I didn't view myself as like worthy. I didn't even view myself as worthy of him. I always thought I was punching, because throughout my whole childhood, I thought that he was like this amazing, good looking, everyone wants to be him, everyone wants to either date him or be him. And I was like, how did I get him? So I put him on such a pedestal. But really, like, why wasn't I ever put on a pedestal? Like, now, like, I want to be on that fucking pedestal.
You are on the pedestal. You're
well fucking yeah. But but it's just sad that is what I thought of myself. And now it's just like, no. Like,
absolutely. So, yeah, we hope you liked The Psycho, and thank you for listening to another episode. If you did enjoy it, please subscribe and go and tell all your friends and give us a follow on Instagram.
Absolutely. And make sure you come back for the next episode. Thanks, guys.